Become part of the change towards a regenerative future. Our aim is to promote self-empowerment and educate our course participants about regeneration, so that people all over the world can redesign their communities. Look deeper inside our programs and courses to find your way within your community to transform the world. Sustainability is at the heart of all of our courses and projects. Sustainability Design Education is our mission. Join our programs, support us, and let's fly together.
Hello, everybody. So nice to have you in this webinar for this evening. And
welcome.
And my name is Macaco Tameriche. I am a sociologist, a life coach, but most of all, I have been working with EDEs for many, many years, actually since 2011. And I have been part of the Ecovillage network for a long, long time. So going in many different roles. I won't go into that. Just to let you know that it has been a long time that I have been in the movement, as well as my friend Thaisa Matos.
Yes, I'm very happy to be here. I want to start thanking Gaia Education for this invitation, and it's a pleasure to share about the ED. Macaco and I, we have been working together on it for years now, and we will share more soon. So I'm Thaisa, I'm Brazilian. I'm currently the education coordinator for the Global Ecovillage Network. I'm also very much into the Ecovillage world as an ecovillager and ecovillage researcher, and involved with the EDEs since 2009. We will share more about ourselves and our experiences with the EDE very soon. And in this meantime, we would like, Macaco's cat also wants to be with us.
My cat is very curious.
Welcome your cat. And we want to invite our special guest for today to join us. But maybe you could also let us know, where are you calling from on the chat? Hey, Daniel.
Hello. I am now calling.
Before Daniel, before you start, let's invite everybody. It would be so great to see where you're coming from, your names, so that we can also feel into you. Yes.
Hey, Alice.
Okay. And while there will be many, many people putting their names now, we would really like Daniel to introduce yourself and to say a few words about you and your involvement with the Ecovillage movement.
Sure. Well, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me. Hi, everyone. And I am calling from Findhorn in northern Scotland. And where do I start? It was 30 years ago, almost exactly 30 years ago, that I came here as a nerdy academic. I was doing my PhD in child development with the dream of starting a school. And I spent a year here working with the kids. And in the middle of that year, a friend brought over some college students, and it just changed my life. I just saw them wake up. Like, there's something about ecovillages, the context, that make them amazing campuses for transformation and learning. And I remember waking up with goosebumps, thinking like, this is what I want to do. So I changed from working with like kids to more college age kids. And I started an organization called Living Roots that partnered with the University of Massachusetts. And we did study abroad in ecovillages. So we brought students to Findhorn a lot. Actually, it helped generate a Findhorn college here for a while. Orville in South India, where I was living actually before I came back in September to assume the role of Director of Education. So it feels like a real full circle for me. And I've been privileged for more than half my life to really be involved in ecovillages. I've visited, I've lost count, but it's got to be over 100, and I've lived in and worked in dozens. I've lived at Sirius Community, which is a spin-off of Findhorn in Western Massachusetts, and most recently again in Orville, an amazing community in South India with about 3,500 people from 60 different nations. And now I'm really blessed to come back home to Findhorn.
Wonderful, Daniel. That's so lovely. And while you were talking, I can see that there are people from everywhere in the world, from Africa, from the US, from
she's like
Asia,
a couple hundred yards away. So
yeah, and somebody just from a couple very, very close to you. So you see, it's really very wonderful. So what actually is the EDE, Daniel? And I know that you were there in the very, very beginning when it all started. So how did it come into life? How did the Ecovillage Design Education as a course, as a curriculum, as a really comprehensive life project in a certain sense, how did it come into life?
Well, I actually wasn't there. I mean, it depends on when you consider it beginning, right? It's all a river. So I did not come. I wasn't here in 1995 at the inaugural event of the Global Ecovillage Network. I wish I had come. And I didn't come because I was getting ready to lead a program, a Living Roots program in Orville. So, and I'm often curious. I often wonder what would have happened if I had come at that time. Somehow something would have changed. It's interesting because I was one of the few people, along with Lori Gold from Pacific Lutheran University, who was taking students here to Findhorn, who were actually doing the work. And I know, I mean, the Global Ecovillage Network was really inspired and funded by Ross Jackson and Hilda Jackson. And Hilda in particular had a very strong interest in education. And it was a few years later, I think it was 98, that they called a big meeting at Fjordvang in Denmark. And there was about 40 or 50 people came. And honestly, it was really frustrating because it was very high level, very academic. People were like, well, how would we think about education in ecovillages? How would we train people? And I'm like, can I just get the people in the room who are actually doing it and talking about this with each other? Yeah. And so that was the real beginning. And then out of that, I think a smaller group started meeting, and it happened over a few years. And let's see, Liz Walker from Ecovillage at Ithaca, Kosha Joubert, who later was the director of GEN, Jonathan Dawson, who was recently the chair of the economics department at Schumacher, Max Lindiger, one of the founders of Crystal Waters, May East, as I'm sure you all know, Giovanni Chiarlo. I mean, this was an amazing group, and it was an incredible privilege. I have to say, it was one of the most privileged times in my life that we would be going to these places, Hungary and Thailand. And each time we were like taking this idea forward, like, how would we do this? And it was so fun. I remember times when we would like come up with big pieces of paper, like what are all the things that we can imagine teaching, putting them on a floor. I think it was at Newbold House, not so far from here, and trying to organize it. And at the same time, doing our work ourselves. Oh, Will Keepin was one of the geese, as we call them. I think Liz Walker coined that term, something like global ecovillage educators design
for a sustainable Earth.
Sustainable Earth, right. So I should probably put that on my resume somewhere. And so Will Keepin also, and others, we would do little workshops and sort of do the work ourselves. And it evolved over years, and it really landed, I think, in 2005. And I should say it kind of happened because it wasn't happening in the Global Ecovillage Network. And that's why I sometimes wonder, it's like, if I was there in 95, I would have been like, I'll do this and I'll do it within GEN. And I don't know how things would have changed, but I suspect they would have been different. And so the curriculum evolved, and I was originally part of the certification committee and kind of put that together, putting my nerd hat on. And originally the idea is that we would only do these programs in ecovillages. And it was a couple years later that they started going online. And I have to say, I was skeptical. I was like, come on, it's really about the environment. And I was blown away. I was like so shocked at the power that's possible of doing online programs for EDEs. So happy to be here.
I can say that the EDE is really a life-changing program, and that's what attracts people all over. I've been working with it since 2009. I did my first EDE a year before, in São Paulo. It was the first one in a big city, like with 120 people, and adapted to the urban reality. So I think something interesting is how the curriculum was somehow adapted and tested out in diverse environments. I myself did it in like indigenous traditional communities and also in big cities. In Brazil, it's common that we do it in big cities. And at the beginning, it was only in ecovillages as immersive programs. And it was my pleasure to have Macaco co-creating this online experience with me years ago when, with the pandemic, all EDs all over were canceled. And we were like, oh my God, 1 year without EDs. That was too sad. And there was so much going on that we thought it was important to bring these inspirations and Ecovillage solutions and this Ecovillage flavor everywhere. And it's fantastic how we ended up.
It's really amazing how, I mean, my first EDE was, I mean, I have been living in Damanhur for almost 30 years. Maybe I did not tell that before, but maybe some of you know me as well. So, and I was the representative for Damanhur with all the networks. So this is how I came into the Ecovillage movement and into the world. And my mind was blown apart because it was really like, I felt like, this is like the bigger family of the smaller family. They're all cousins, you know, like all the different eco-villages are cousins. And the first time that I did the EDE, it was in Siebenlinden. And I only did a part of the EDE there because Kosha Joubert was organizing the EDEs at Siebenlinden. And I remember that I was really blown apart because there was such a level of deep sharing, such a level of humanity, of human understanding, of human processes going on, being whole, and in the same time learning a lot about so many different tools that I said, oh yeah, this is really so great. And from then on, I have been organizing the EDEs at Damanhur for many, many, many years. And I've been teaching in many different EDEs also all over the world, also in Gambia and in other places in the world. So I think that the online EDE, when Taisa and myself, we have been friends for a long time inside the Ecovillage movement, inside Gaia Education. We have been really good friends. And then at a certain point when the pandemic started, we said, what are we going to do? We need to do an online live EDE, which really is like being there in person. So, or at least the closest possible. And then we found out actually that it was a great adventure that we were going into. And, but this is just a few things about the EDEs. EDEs are really life-changing. I have seen so many people understanding a lot more about themselves and about what they want to do. Because all of you who are here in this moment are people who want to do something for this world, because otherwise you would not be here listening to us in this moment. So the motivations behind organizations like the Global Ecovillage Network, like Gaia Education, are really people who want to engage, who want this to make this world a better place. And this is exactly what happens also a lot during the EDE, that you understand much clearer what is your mission, what is your life really about, together with the others. And I think that's one of the biggest outcomes that I can think of as far as the EDE is concerned.
Yeah, and I was going to ask Daniel, as you were there earlier than us, you just said not since the first beginning, but earlier than us. What were the motivations behind to create the ED?
Well, it's almost so obvious to us that it's hard to even articulate, because it's like, I think we are all recognizing that we're living in this incredible moment. I mean, not just in human history, but in planetary history. And we really need to change fundamentally. And, my dad's an engineer, and I remember him once telling me, it's like, yeah, you take all the classes, you learn this and that, but really it's a way of thinking. It's a way of approaching problems. And I think eco-villages are similar. And an EDE is a good example of that. I mean, you come to an EDE and you learn a lot of the details, but it's more than that. The whole is much more than the sum of its parts. And there is a gestalt. There's a way of thinking, even more, there's a way of being. And it really connects. It's about this sense of connection. It's about a sense of interbeingness. It's a way of shifting our own mindset and looking at, where do I have limiting beliefs around that I am somehow separate from you, I'm separate from the environment, and how would we live a life? How would we live a life individually and together if we take as a core assumption that we are here together, we live or die together, and it's really about this evolution of our consciousness. I would even go so far as to say it's the evolution of God that we are actually trying to manifest. And I think we're all feeling that. And when you feel that, you just want to share it. And so we were like, how do we do that? And that's really how the EDE evolved. It was really out of that passion of sharing the joy that we all found. That wasn't so precise, but that gives
No, it was very precise. And thank you so much for saying that, because this is exactly what I also feel, that it is about expressing really. I mean, we all know that we are connected, but when we do things together with other people at a very high level of consciousness, then we understand what we could touch upon, what are the levels that humankind could also touch upon, and not only living their daily life in the things and so on, but really like living together, becoming aware that we are all one with inside this planet and with this planet. So it's really like, oh my God.
He wants to be part of the show.
He wants to be part of the discussion. So I really think that one of the most important things during the EDE is really the process of awakening that happens. And there is a process of awakening on a personal level, on a group level, and on a planetary level. And this is why it is so extremely exciting. And also one of the reasons that I really love to teach the EDE, because you couldn't have said it better, Daniel. At a certain point, you really want to share that with the others, you want to share that with the world. So you want to give further, and to allow as many people as possible to be in the same state of mind.
Yeah, I think that was what happened to me since I did my EDE, because in the next year, I was like, oh, I need to bring it to Rio, because we need an EDE in Rio. And then but we also need to run one in Terraúna Ecovillage, where I come from. And people coming and that, I also need it in my community, in my state, in my country. And then I started traveling around, like Argentina, Portugal, also Mozambique, and other countries to spread the EDE. And it's just impressive how people really, like, there is a click and people can. I think I remember when I saw the EDE mandala, it's just like I knew about most of the topics, but seeing them together and with the interaction and with the community around and with all the solutions and inspiring stories, I still think it is the best ever sustainability related program.
And this is exactly the point where we should say, because we have been talking a lot about what the EDE produces, but we have not really saying what the EDE is. So maybe this is the moment to share the screen and show the mandala of Gaia Education. Exactly. And you can see that the EDE usually is a course of 1 month, but it has like a certain amount of hours. There are at least 125 hours, and there is design. So you have 4 different dimensions of sustainability, which is the social, the worldview, the economic, and the ecological. And all those have like chapters. And all these chapters altogether, this whole program really talks about human being. I mean, about human existence, about all the things that are necessary to live a happy life in harmony with nature. And one of the incredible things in the EDE is that there is design. So you will not only learn about the different topics and the different things, but you will also be able to apply these things directly in order to really fix them well, because it's experiential learning. So it's not just learning with your head, but it's really learning through experience by implementing all the new knowledge learned immediately into your project.
And it's also interesting to see that when we talk about sustainable design, like everyone thinks about a tripod, social, ecology, and economy. And we have been talking about it like since the 60s, 70s, and we could never get there. And I feel that that's why the EDE and the Ecovillage movement are so like cutting edge, because since, like Daniel mentioned, the 1995, or even like the EDE curriculum was published officially, was launched in 2005. And since then, we have been using the same approach. And it's still extremely innovative nowadays. And I think that's really incredible how eco-villagers and academics in this think tank could come up with this beautiful puzzle.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And also, Daniel, maybe you want to say something about the comprehensivity of the curriculum, because it really embraces all of human existence.
Right. I mean, that was our intention from the beginning, is to create a curriculum that was both exhaustive and as best as possible mutually exclusive, so that there were topics that didn't overlap. It was impossible because everything is connected to everything else, but it works, and I think the big innovation, as you said, was to add the worldview or cultural, or if we get away with it, spiritual dimension. And to me, that is at the core. It's really our worldview. It's our story of who we think we are. And that infuses everything, right? I mean, you can have a different worldview that would inform a different ecological, economic, and social reality. And so that is really, it's a thread that runs between and through all of the dimensions. And it is this gestalt. It's the whole that's more than the sum of the part. The part. So I would encourage people who are thinking about this, you might say like, oh, I'm really interested in this topic or this topic. And that's great. But I encourage you to sort of come with an open mind, because it's almost guaranteed you will come away with a lot more than you think you would get. And it may be different from what you think you would get.
Yeah, I was really impressed when I started studying it, that, wow, how did they had this amazing like inspiration to bring culture as and worldview as the fourth pillar of sustainability. And it's interesting to see that, for example, the UNESCO just recognized culture as key for sustainable development in 2013. So many, many years after the Ecovillage movement. And it informs everything eco-villages are doing.
Yeah, right. And what do you love, Thaisa? What do you love about teaching the EDE?
Well, maybe we can go back to the full screen with the three of us, because we have seen the curriculum already. Yeah, it's nicer to see you around. What do I love? I love everything about it. I love engaging with each one of these fantastic like trainers we have from all over. I learn a lot. I love creating community everywhere. It's impressive how during the EDE program, in the second or third day, like people are connected and deeply connected. It's like we became family, and it's like tribe. And I love how life-changing it is. And I love like walking around and meeting people. Thaisa, that course, it really changed my life. Look at me now. Or at the beginning, I had this idea that it would be nice to inspire people to create eco-villages all over. And then I understood, no, it's not about creating like physical eco-villages. It's about spreading these seeds and bringing the community, the spirit of community, the spirit of eco-villages, this approach to everything you do. So it's beautiful to see it like in organizations or in universities and in families, and people are just playing around with all those topics and changing their lives. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah.
What
And
inspires
Daniel?
you, Macaco?
What
in
inspires
the
me?
EDE?
So I think a lot of things you have already said. I think the most important thing is really to go every time when you do an EDE, it's like going on a journey. It's like going on a life journey, and every time you have a different team around you. You know, you're doing this trip with different people, and every time I think what is one of the most inspiring things that happen during the EDE is to discover all the beauty of every human being that is part of it. It's really incredible how the beauty kind of unfolds in front of you when you take away some veils, when you go deeper into things, when you look when you go into this process, which is really, the EDE is very much a process. So it's so beautiful to see how the people come out and bloom and flourish and get hope, especially in these times. People get a lot of hope. And on the online live EDE, one thing that is really very, very important is that people also living in parts of the world that are disadvantaged and that are difficult, and where things are really difficult, they can be part of the whole EDE, and they can get hope because they get tools to use on how to make to change also their environment a little bit. And I think that's very, very important. And another thing that I love about the EDE, teaching the EDE, is the community that is created all the time. It's really about community. So on the one side, it's really the individual blooming and thriving and coming out of their eggshells. And on the other side, it's the community that is being built, which is just amazing. And let's not forget about all the incredible tools, because also, for example, with the online EDE compared to the EDE that I organize here at Damanur, there is the big difference that we have a lot of really highly qualified people, the people that are most cutting edge in the world, and we can have them teaching in the EDE. And so that's a really, really great add-on that you can have with the online EDE, because you could not call all these people to your EDE. It would just not be affordable.
Yeah.
And what about you, Daniel? What do you like about teaching the EDE?
I think you named it. I think it's a lot about hope. You know, like when I was doing the EDs, they were mostly in person, and they were also longer. We were doing it as part of semester programs and with college students, and many college students would show up in despair, you know, in grief. Sometimes they were even numb, right? Because they were taking the courses, the environmental courses, and they knew all the problems, but it was so much that it was hard for them to like actually be with it, like to let in what's happening at this time is really hard. And when they learn about ecovillages, when they learned about these courses, they were like, oh my God, there's people who are devoting their lives to actually making things better. I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, I remember when I became a vegetarian, like, gosh, what was like almost 40 years ago, it changed how I looked at the world, right? Suddenly I saw how the whole meat industry was impacting this and that. And it's like, it just changed everything. And you know, ecovillages and the EDE sort of does that as well. It's like, you can't look at anything the same way again. You start looking through it through a lens of hope, of possibilities and connection. You're like, oh, maybe they should know about this, or if they did this. And it it's just a different way of looking at things. And I think that's what most inspires me, is when students really wake up to the possibilities, not only in their own lives, but really for humanity and the planet.
Yeah. And you really named it. You really named it. It's. I think it's about awakening to the possibilities that you can make the difference. You know, that you are not just living your life and others are imposing how you have to live your life, but that you can really learn how to become how to hold your life in your own hands together with others and create something new. And I think that's a really, really very important outcome of this.
Very empowering. Very good.
And we had incredible experiences also. I mean, not in the in-person EDEs, of course. You have the community that is created very close, and people stay in touch over years and sometimes support their projects, their reciprocal projects, also physically. And in the online EDE, we had some incredible experiences with sustainable, with let's say solidarity groups being created to help people who were in more disadvantaged places. And we had the most incredible links being created and people understanding really about what's going on in the world. Because one of the great things of the online EDE is that you have the possibility to talk to people from all over the world and to do these exercises and this process together with people from all over, and with very different approaches to life, with very different walks of life. And that kind of creates a richness and also an intimacy with the world that opens your view wide.
Yeah, it was beautiful. In this last years, we had like people joining in the middle of the night from the extremes, for example, Hawaii or New Zealand, Australia. Like, we're very late at night, and we could see, we made a map with participants, and we were covering the entire globe. And then we could see the exchanging, like participants starting to create projects together, and for one place, but also globally, networking. And once the pandemic was a little bit like, when the lockdown was over, they could start visiting each other, and some of them are like close friends. And it's so beautiful to see how we are connected with like this family all over.
Yeah, and we had people from all different walks of life, you know. So really from managers in big positions to people who were coming in, living in refugee camps. So we had really very, very different situations. And the beauty of it is that everybody is at the same level, at really how do you call it, peers? No, peers. Do you call it peers? And it's really incredible how this diversity and this different input and these different views of life can really change your perspective on how you see life, on how you see yourself in life, and develop a much, much wider view.
And I think we could hear for you that are with us, if there are any questions, we are happy to include some of your questions. And in this meantime, while you yes, we can just get in touch with us. We do offer half price for the Global South, but we are open for case by case, to analyze case by case. You just write to us. I don't know if there's any other question you would like to ask about how the EDE was developed, or how the EDE create change maybe Macaco, this one is for you.
Yeah, I think I was just going to somewhere else because I think that one of the most important things, which is also part of our title today, is why is the EDE relevant today? I mean, a lot has been said in this regard already, but especially today, we are living in a moment where we are living in a global crisis. It looks like if you listen to the news, you can get really upset, because you only hear about terrible things happening everywhere, and the economy crumbling, and pandemics, and wars, and endless difficult situations for humankind, a lot of suffering, a lot of pain. And I think it's really very, very important to understand that there are tools with which you can live a happy life where you are, especially if you're getting together with other people. And you can do that. You don't have to live in an eco-village necessarily to do this, despite, of course, living in an eco-village is a privilege. It's a real privilege. But you can do it wherever you are. You can do it in the cities. You can do it in your neighborhoods. You can create movements that will bring the people together, and that will that will today my English is not so good, and that will really like fire up the ideas on how to create something new and create community wherever you are. So this is so important. You want to answer to this, Thaisa?
I can, and maybe I can share the slides again, because then I'll talk about the course duration and also can I move it? Yes. So just to introduce you to the online EDE, here is our amazing team. So some of the names we mentioned before, the three of us are here, myself, Macaco, and Daniel. We talked about Kosha Joubert and Jonathan Dawson, but there are others like from all corners, John Croft from Australia, or Helena Norberod, Albert Bate from the US, and many others.
Mugove from Africa.
Mugove, yes. Sara from the Philippines.
And Carlos Rojas from South America, from Colombia.
Carlos Rojas, yes, we are many. You can see the details, but the online EDE, it's about 4 months, a little bit more than 4 months, and in it we meet on Saturdays. So you have sessions on Saturdays, and then we will create small design groups where people will do more hands-on work on projects, and this is up to the group to decide when they will meet, but once a week on Saturdays for 4 months. And
for
here
about,
you can
for about
see
3.5 hours each.
Yeah, you can have more information about the course, but Gaia Education will also share with you the link by email.
Exactly.
Just for us to share a little bit about the program.
Exactly. But we should really look into why the EDE is relevant today. What do you think?
I think it's relevant because we mentioned already it brings hope and solutions. It's interesting to see how this solutions or social methodologies, social technologies co-created by the ecovillages. The ecovillages are living laboratories where people are trying out different ways of living and many solutions on how to deal on renewable energy, ecosystem restoration, local economies, conflict resolution, and so on. And you can get inspired, and you can get to know all these tools and solutions to apply to your reality. So for me, it brings not only hope, but good examples and tools that we can use to live in a better way. And also engagement, because usually it brings a lot of like motivation, and then people can see, oh, that's fantastic, so I'm gonna engage here and there. Like, you end up completely motivated to do the necessary change. And nowadays we can see this eco-village approach everywhere, like in climate disasters, people are rebuilding using eco-village solutions and the eco-village approach. It's like low impact, low cost many times. So, and we learn how to do it together. So it's also fun.
Yeah. And what do you think, Daniel, what do you think is the most relevant thing for the EDE
Yeah.
today?
I want to say something. It may sound a little radical, but I'm sitting here in my living room at Findhorn. I'm looking out my window at a turf roof guest lodge. If I turned around the corner, I'd see a number of windmills producing our energy. I had some salad from our gardens. If I walk down the runway here, there's the Living Machine, an ecological wastewater treatment facility. It's wonderful, right? I mean, it's a great human scale laboratory. None of that is cutting edge technology, right? I mean, if you take anything in itself, you can find better examples of organic agriculture or windmills or wastewater treatment. That's not what this is about. What this is about is how do we put the pieces together in human scale communities? How do we actually take back and relocalize? Because I think that's also going to be a huge shift in the coming years, where we need to like be more resilient. And how do we support each other? And there is that something about, again, the whole being more than the sum of its parts. What we're doing is we're not just creating the infrastructure, we're creating culture, we're creating a story, we're creating a community, a way of being with each other. And I think that's what the tools of the EDE provide. It's the stuff between the topics in a way that is the glue, that is the most important for me. So yeah, I don't know if that's radical.
Yeah, no, but I totally
Very
share
good
what you're
point.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally share, because sometimes also living in Damanhur, we don't realize how privileged we are. We are really eating the vegetables that we are producing ourselves with love. So we are everything that we do. We have houses, we have lots of energy that is produced or with renewable sources, and so on and so on. So it really, and most of all, I think the biggest thing actually about why the EDE is relevant today is about being able to recreate human systems, because it's the human systems that make the difference. It's exactly what you said. It's the glue between the different topics, because also in the EDE you won't learn in depth about how to build a solar panel or something like this. You will learn where you can get where you can learn that and learn about the general principles why you can learn about that. And you can learn how to grow with permaculture and what is permaculture and so on. But you won't have a full permaculture course. But what is going to happen is really that all these different parts coming from all the different sides of life. So from the worldview, I think it's so important, really, because the worldview, for example, in Damanhur is also a spiritual community like Oroville or like Findhorn. So let's say that the original spark was a spiritual one, But if you are a spiritual community, how can you not be ecological? Because if you have a deep respect for life, how can you not be ecological? How can you not research new ways of living in harmony with nature? How can you not be curious to find new systems of living together, where living together becomes heaven on earth and not hell on earth, So, and all these kind of things. How can you not be interested in finding a new economy that allows everybody to live well? And all these kind of things, they are so important. And I think more today than ever, actually, because we are, as I said before, we are in difficult times and also in very inspiring times, because there is the possibility, a lot of things are crumbling, and when things crumble, other things arise. So there is the possibility to make space for things to arise in a new way, in a beautiful way. And I think that one of the most underestimated resources of life is really the goodwill of people. So to make life better and to make a better, because we have this inside of us. We are wired to want to improve situations and ourselves and the places where we live. So I think this is why it's so relevant today.
Would you also like to share, Daniel, why do you see the EDEs still relevant?
You know what comes up for me? I'm in the middle of doing a psychosynthesis life coaching training, and there's a framing of Vassia Jolie from Italy about goodwill, skillful will, and strong will. And I think that really is interesting through the Ecovillage lens, that I think you come together with so many people of goodwill that are just here for serving the betterment of humanity, betterment of the planet, and you feel it, and it's infectious, and it's supportive, it's uplifting. And the strong will of like, we are fully committed, and once you're in the stream, it's like you can't get out. Like there's no like forgetting what you learn. And then the skillful will, of course, it's like, well, how do we do this? And to learn from each other, learn from experts, and to be connected to people around the world. I want to make sure that that's emphasized, because it really allows you to connect to people much broader than you might imagine, who are doing amazing work around the world. And there's so many different ways to look at it. I'll say one more thing is there's lots of definitions of ecovillages. One that I like, that is very simple in my mind, is that it's a community that's both living high quality and low impact lives. How do we live well and lightly together? And when you think about it that way, we're all trying to get to that middle ground, right? How do we live well and lightly together? But we're coming at it from different directions. And so here at Findhorn, we're living in a pretty nice environment. We're already living pretty well. And so our questions are, how do we reduce our ecological footprint while maintaining a high quality lifestyle? But then there's a lot of indigenous communities and places around the world that are saying, hey, wait a minute, we need to really raise our quality of life. But how do we do that while preserving our resources, preserving our cultures, not getting exploited by the West, And so, but we're all going to that center place, which is really where ecovillages have staked out the ground, saying, look, you have to get here one way or another. And we're just kind of creating pathways for different groups but we're all trying to get to the same destination. And that's a beautiful thing. Through that, it connects us all as well, because we see how we're all connected, and that's where we all need to be.
Exactly. I think the connection is really one of the main points as well. It's the connection with ourselves, inside of ourselves, with the others that we are directly connected to, and with the world and with all that is going on there. And I think one of the things that I also want to emphasize is that the possibility to talk to people from all over the world and to discover how many incredible projects are happening, it really lightens up your spirits. Because very often when we listen to the news, and we really listen only to terrible things. And indeed, there are so many great projects on the ground going on, so many incredible people committed, really fully committed to improve the situation where they are in. And so, for example, just a little story, Thaisa, do you remember? So not in this last ED, in the one before, we had somebody from the refugee camp in Kakuma, and I was also supporting them with trainings in the Kakuma to become an eco-village, and so on and so on. And at a certain point, what happened is that they created a band. They had a band in the Kakuma refugee camp. I mean, Kakuma is 150,000 people in Kenya, so living in really difficult situations where it's very hot and there's no ground, so difficult situation. And they created the most beautiful song about eco-village life, the most beautiful song about eco-villages. That was one of the highlights when it came through. And
that was last year. That was the last year. Huh? Yeah. And it's beautiful because someone asked about scholarships. We have like several requests, but we are very careful in doing our best and looking for sponsors and to bring people in. And he was this guy from the refugee camp was one of our like scholarship last year. And it's so beautiful to see the impact. Like he was talking about everything he was learning in the refugee camp. And then he reached out, Thaisa, I want to be a Gen ambassador. And I'm translating all the materials to the local language. And we need support to teach it all over. Let's do it. And then by the end of the year, he sent the song. Look, and it's a super beautiful song. We can share with you. We can ask Pedro to share the link. It's on YouTube, this Ecovillage. And it's beautiful to see like the impact of these seeds. For sure.
And other people who have been really meeting each other in South America, so and people meeting each other and supporting each other, becoming friends. It's really a place where you can create friendships all over the world. And this is really what happens very, very often. So totally inspiring.
Yeah, you are all together. You are all invited to join us. We will love to have you on board. And I was just thinking about the last time we were together, and it was during an EDE, Macaco, Daniel, and myself last year. Daniel is one of our trainers, and we were there during the Ecovillage gathering in Europe, in Denmark. And Daniel's session on Saturday was in the middle of the gathering. And the three of us were there attending the conference, and the internet connection was not so good. And there were a bunch of people and noise and many things going on at the same time. And we were like, oh my God, how are we going to hold the session? And we end up, the three of us in a room, locked in the same computer. And that was super fun. And
yeah, at the end we had to use only one computer because it was not possible to have all our computers, so just with one computer, all very close.
That's a fun story about teaching the EDE. And let's see where we will be in this next one.
Yeah. And one more thing that I would really like to say is that also now we have been talking a lot about the online EDE because it's starting soon. It's starting in March, but it's really, EDEs all over the world are really totally inspiring and are really totally interesting. And there are many different types of EDEs as well. Some, for example, there is one of the people who came last year who has now created a she EDE, which is very much linked to exploring the matriarchal side of things and the matriarchal point of view and so on. And there are others that are very much linked to the social, and there are others who have their accent on something else. So one thing that we try to put together with the online EDE is really to have a very high level of educators and of people and of knowledge. So, and that you can create a link that also afterwards you can stay in touch. And we think that that's a really great, unique possibility that offers the online EDE.
Yeah, I saw the question about the EDE and the GEDS. They are different programs. The GEDS is a self-paced program. The content is similar because you go through the EDE mandala, but the online EDE is live. So we are all there together, all the participants and all the trainers. We are together. It's online. It's very participatory. You have time to go into working groups. We do group dynamics. We study together. We hear each other. We dance. We sing. It's really live. And the GEDS is more like reading the materials and doing some evaluations and connecting with a tutor once a week. So the online ED is more similar to the face-to-face programs. There was an attempt to create that reality when we could not get together.
And the GEDS really has incredible material. I mean, the GEDS has incredible material inside. So it's very different courses, and you should really take them all, because they are different experiences. And also in the GEDS, you create a lot of community, because you also meet every now and then, despite that it's self-paced, but you meet once a week. And a lot of people have really learned a lot and created a lot of community and created also friendship in the GEDS. But they are structurally very different. The online live EDE is really like, as Thaisa said, it's like in person. It's like being a person. It's not like this webinar that we are having today, but it's on Zoom, and it's like where you can have breakout rooms, where you have works in smaller groups, where you can share in 2s, in 3s, in 4s, you know.
We can see each other.
Yeah. And it's a different kind of, it's a very different program. And they're all totally important, really important, let's say, stepping stones towards Alfug, who was asking how to become a certified trainer. And to become a certified trainer, you need to have one certified EDE. So you need to be a certified EDE designer. You have to have at least one of the dimensions of the GEDS, and you have done the TOT, the training of trainers. The next training of trainers that I know of will be here in Damanhur in in September, when the EDE finishes. When our EDE finishes, we will go on with the training of trainers. And it's really very, 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 very interesting to do all these things, because they are all different facets of the same thing, but you learn different things. Like in the TOT, you really learn how to facilitate, where the facilitation is really the main thing. In the GEDS, I think that the content is really extremely important and very, very important. And in the EDEs, it's the content together with the community creating, and with the inner processes that are taking place, that are so important.
Yeah, personally, I don't know about an EDE in a French-speaking country. In Africa, for sure.
Yeah, in Gambia, I did one in Gambia.
Senegal,
I think, also, yeah. But in France,
it's more difficult, also because they're not. But there might be no, it will not be in French. There will be one that is also partially in Swahili in Kenya in October. But in French, it's more difficult.
We are almost on time. I don't know if you have any final thoughts, Daniel, to share.
What came up for me very quickly as you were both speaking is that really this online EDE is the epitome of that word globalization, right? I mean, it really is. You're connecting to people all over the world. You're accessing wisdom from the people who've been doing this most of their lives, and you're thinking about and you're learning how to apply it locally in your own communities, in your own lives. And it really is this local global thing that is only possible through this technology and people like you both who are willing to hold it. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being part of it as well. Yes. And before we close this beautiful evening together, we would really like you to put one word into the chat of how you're feeling now today, how you're feeling. What did you take with you from this short webinar?
More a conversation round than a webinar, but I'm very grateful to be here with the two of you and all of you around. I want to thank Gaia Education for opening up this opportunity for us. And yeah, I feel grateful and always inspired when I talk about the ED. How are you feeling?
Yes. I also would really like to thank Gaia Education for giving the possibility to create this webinar that was also really created to give the possibility to learn for everybody what the EDEs are, because Gaia Education is the organization that certifies all EDEs. So if you want to have a certified EDE, you go to Gaia Education. And really thank you for giving the tech support and for being so kind. And I would like to thank Daniel for being here and always bringing his brilliance, beautiful brilliance. And I would like to thank you, Thaisa, for being the great companion of journey that you are. Because you have to know that Thaisa and myself, we have been working together for years now. And we work together like hand in hand all the time. You know, it's like heaven. You know, you can work together with people and it's difficult, and you can work together with people where it's heaven. And with Thaisa, it's heaven. So really, thank you.
It is such a pleasure to be here with you. And thank you so much, Daniel. It's always good to have you with us.
Well, you're
looking
both
forward
family,
to meeting you in person very soon. Hopefully in the Ecovillage European gathering. You are all invited all over. The ones in Europe, it's easy. It will be in Germany in July, and they will launch it in a week or so. So just keep an eye open.
And in the meantime, please just realize that online learning, also with all the courses that Gaia Education is offering, is an incredible possibility to increase not only your knowledge, but also to increase your feeling of the world. And I think that's really one of the most important things that we can bring as educational arms of a whole movement.
Yeah.
Become part of the change towards a regenerative future. Our aim is to promote self-empowerment and educate our course participants about regeneration, so that people all over the world can redesign their communities. Look deeper inside our programs and courses to find your way within your community to transform the world. Sustainability is at the heart of all of our courses and projects. Sustainability Design Education is our mission. Join our programs, support us, and let's fly together.